this is Adam Kunzmiller with Board Game Geek at Gen Con 2017, and I'm joined here by Justin Gary with Stoneblade Entertainment, and we're here to look at Ascension, Valley of the Ancients.
That's right.
All right, so what is new in the Valley of the Ancients to the Ascension verse?
Yeah, so I'm assuming most people listening are familiar with Ascension. We launched here at Gen Con 7 years ago. We actually have a copy of the very first edition of the game.
7 years?
7 years.
It does not seem like it.
The library for Gen Con 50, that we have a copy of the original game as part of one of the exhibits in the library. So, you know, every new set we try to introduce something new and exciting, but still make it accessible for people. And Valley of the Ancients has a really fun mechanic. The main thing is these temples here, right? So most people who are familiar with Ascension, this is the thing that's going to look the most new to them. The way the temples work is that there's certain cards that will grant you a resource for one of the temples. So, for example, this guy here's got the little tree icon. That's for the Temple of Life.
Temple of Life.
And then you've got this guy here grants you the Temple of Death, the little skull icon. When you play a card that grants you one of those icons, you get to take one of the temples and put it in front of you. If you can activate it again by getting the icon again, you get to use its power. But if at some point before I do that, or you get the icon, you get to actually take it from me. Exactly. So it actually ends up being a pretty cool tug of war that happens. And if you can activate one of the Temple of Life or Temple of Death twice, you get the Temple of Immortality. And that gives you a really powerful effect. For those that are familiar with Ascension, the Dawn of Champions and Realms Unraveled, we had the rally mechanic, where whenever you acquired a card of a faction, you get, if the next card that replaces it is the same faction, then like this, then you get to acquire it. The Temple of Immortality gives you that ability for a faction of your choice. So it's actually really powerful and a really fun kind of back and forth mechanic that's a little different than anything that we've done.
And so this would be taken away from you by someone completely accomplishing its conditions.
Correct. So yeah, if you got the Temple of Death, and then you see the ability on the Temple of Death is you get to gain control of the Temple of Immortality. Right. And you get to banish a card. This one gives you 2 rooms and gives you control. So you can either through the path of life or through the path of death, you can reach immortality is kind of the theme of it. So the story behind it, and you can kind of tell by the sort of artwork and the kind of ancient structure that there's these sort of hidden temples in this ancient race that has been around that was just discovered in the world of Ascension. So that's kind of the biggest new exciting thing, but we've also done a lot of I think small but really powerful and useful things. So for example, you'll notice one of these cards here has a kind of goldish border around it. That's it kind of jumps out at you. That's new. And actually what that does is that just tells you that the card has an ability while it's in the center row, while it's in the center of the board. Now we've had cards like that in the past, but often people would forget, or they wouldn't notice that when it was there. So now this says, hey, look, pay attention.
Makes it pop a bit.
Right, so this one you can actually acquire with power or runes, and then once you have it, you can acquire any of the mechanic constructs with power or runes. And then there's a bunch of other cards that kind of fit in that. So again, small change, but it really helps to kind of make the gameplay easier. We've also introduced some cool new mechanics. You notice how, for those that play the game a lot, the Unite mechanic is a really popular thing in Lifebound. If you play 2 or more Lifebound cards, the Unite abilities trigger. And a lot of the other factions don't have that same identifying mechanic. And so we've actually introduced 2 new mechanics in the set, one for Void and one for Enlightened. The Enlightened one is called Serenity, and it says if you play the card and you have no cards in your discard pile, then you get to activate the Serenity power. So the goal is, you're kind of at peace, you don't have anything crazy going on. And then there's some really cool, powerful cards like Isla, that actually, when you play it, lets you acquire any hero or construct, and then shuffle all of that card, this card, everything back in your deck. So you can actually draw this guy, in theory, every turn if you're lucky enough. So, and it also helps, it combos well with the Serenity powers. Echo is the Void one, and that one is if you have a Void card in your discard pile. So it's almost like a kind of mirror opposite. If you have a Void card in your discard pile, you get the extra bonus. So you want to really double down on Void and make sure you have those things there. So, lots of those little mechanics.
Of course, where winter is coming. See the premiere of
the songs.
Brotherhood of the Watch. Learn to play on your massive horror game.
Okay.
So we have that mechanic that really ties that faction together. We have the temple kind of tug of war and battle over the temple powers and the points that they're worth at the end of the game. Of course, great new art, a lot of really cool designs. It's all within the Ascension universe. Plays really well with the Alliance's little team-based add-on we added recently that we talked about actually at the Origins stream. We talked about that. And this is our 7th year now making Ascension.
That's great.
We love it. We're very excited for the fans, and I think that the response here at the show has been great. We have our World Championships for anybody that's going to be at Gen Con. We have a World Championship tournament happening on Saturday. There's, I think, a $2,000 first prize.
How many people people have signed up for that?
I think we're in the 90s right now. We're capping it at 128. So if you
still
have
a little
not signed
space.
up, you still can. But I think we're almost certainly going to cap it. You can win a cool Ascension watch, backpack, play mats. Everybody gets promo cards. We'll be using Valley of the Ancients, so like everybody's kind of on even footing because nobody's really seen it before this show. And so there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff. We'll be there. I'm also participating in the Designer Beatdown tournament on Sunday where people can play against me and some of the fellow people that worked on the games to prove that you're better at this than we are, which I know I get from fans a lot, so it's always fun to actually get to play with them. And we'll be releasing Gift of the Elements was our last big expansion on the app soon as well. So.
And when will this be widely available?
September 18th. It'll be in stores. Ta-da!
So thank you again, Justin, for talking to us about Ascension Valley of the Ancients.